So guys, while we wait for Mr. Himanshu to just come in, I'm sure a lot of you might recognize me. I'm Dave. I'll be your moderator for the session. Um, the session is proudly hosted by myPAT. We're India's largest online learning and assessment platform. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Something I'd like to ask you guys is how do you feel about GE going online? Most of you must know that JEE Advanced has now shifted to a completely online mode. So, are you guys surprised by this decision, or are you prepared for it? I just like to know what the general feeling is amongst all of you. Okay, so I see a lot of people saying that it's good, it's better, and you're not surprised with it. Yes, the results would be declared faster. Manoj says that it's a bad decision. Uh, I think it was an expected decision. It had to go online, owing to the scale of it and owing to the problems that happened due to the offline mode last time. Yeah, Siddhant. I mean, we're not that surprised with it either. So, how are you preparing for an online examination? Because giving online examinations is a completely different task. If you would have listened to some of our previous webinars, there was a webinar that we had with Ms. Shukla in which we introduced the big decision and how it will actually affect all of you preparing, and how online would actually change the way you prepare and give the exam as well. So do listen to that in case you've not seen that already. Yeah, Laboni. So attempting online mocks would help because you would get a taste of the real environment for sure. It's always good to just give a few online mock tests and get used to the environment, because there'll be things such as an online timer that'll be after your life during the entire exam. And also switching between questions becomes easier, and a lot of things actually change during the actual exam when it shifts from an offline to an online mode. So in case you need any online mock test, feel free to go to our mypat website, which is mypat.in. You can check out the homepage, which has a free test that all of you can attempt, and you'll get used to the online environment and how G could appear in 2018. So, Mr. Himanshu Mittal is here, so we'll get started with the webinar. The theme of the webinar is that he'll be giving you some power tips to ace G 2018. With just 4 months left, it's important to now focus and put all your efforts into a single thing. Right, so Mr. Himanshu Mittal is an alumni of NIT Allahabad, a premium institution in India. He has over 15 years of mentoring experience and has shaped careers of lakhs of students. He's consistently mentored top 50, top 100 rankers in G, and it gives me a great pleasure to introduce him. And I'll be now shifting over the mic to him, and he'll be taking you through this 1.5 hour duration webinar. In the end, we'll also have a Q&A session. So in case you have any doubts, do write that down so that we can address them later.
Hello. Hi students, how are you? Am I audible? Am I audible, guys? Okay. Hi Neeraj, hi Benny. So a very good afternoon to all of my students watching this webinar. Hope you all are fit and fine and best in your health and doing good in your studies, right? Well, 4 months to go for your IIT JEE Mains. So by now, you all must have covered the entire syllabus and busy in your revision and working upon your weak areas. Fine, let us discuss today about IIT JEE 2018. Let's make it session interactive and fruitful for you all. Well, in this session, we will be discussing about the changes in the new IIT JEE 2018. Will it happen or not? How could online paper, if it goes, can affect your exam, especially in mathematics? Then we would like to have some sample questions for you just to give you a rough idea. And then the important key topics. And then tips for utilizing your time during your last 3 months, I suppose. And last and not the least, exam day fundas. These will be the various topics which we'll be going through in today's webinar. Well, I have certain myths which I generally came across along with my students. Especially I'll be taking some myths for JEE Mains. So guys, myth number 1, here it goes. Generally students, discuss with me that the paper is lengthy as compared to physics and maths. As compared to physics and chemistry, yes. In this regard, I would like to say that see, paper is not lengthy. It is totally application based. What you need to do is you just need to manage time. And for all this, all formulas should be on your fingertips. I mean, imagine 90 questions in the mains paper and you have 3 hours duration. That means 180 minutes. So 2 minutes per question. And what most important is, suppose if you are solving question number 1, say it is of complex number. Immediately after that question, if you move on to question number 2, it switches on to calculus. And then probability, and then probably quadratic equation, then probably vectors. So transferring your mind from one question to another question should be comfortable and smooth. So in that regard, I would like to suggest you, which my top rankers generally used to do. You make your formula diary. That formula diary should be chapter wise. Jot down each and important formula which you come across through your preparations. All important tricks, all important tips. And the most important thing is just revise that formula diary 1 or 2 days before the exam. Since mains paper is not so tough and tricky as compared to advanced, if you are handy with your formulas, it will save your time and you will be able to come up with good result for JEE Mains. So I don't think this myth should be any more left in your mind. Okay guys, moving on to myth number 2. Paper beyond the reach of boards and NCERT. Well, I tell you, paper is not beyond the reach. The only difference is, in boards, you only cover 12th syllabus. And in IIT paper, you need to cover both 11th and 12th syllabus uniformly in a span of 1 hour. So one has to be quick and fast as compared to boards. The advantage which you have is you don't need to show the working at all. You just need to solve that question on your rough sheet and you need to bubble it. The only thing which you need to be careful is there should be no calculation error. Fine. Moving on to the next myth, which I generally feel is class 11 chapters are less critical. Now this is a very, a technical question which we come across generally among my students. See, it's a false myth. If you go through the paper of 2017 and clearly try to visualize it, out of 30 questions, 12 questions were from 11th syllabus and 18 questions were from 12th syllabus. So in terms of percentage, if I talk about 40% paper was of the syllabi of 11th. So my advice to all the students is just after your board's exam, sit and revise all the concepts of 11th, especially chapters like coordinate geometry, as you will be having 5 chapters in coordinate geometry: straight lines, circles, parabola, ellipse, hyperbola. And let me tell you that out of the all segments in maths, all the chapters in maths, coordinate geometry is the jackpot in IIT JEE paper. It is easier to crack, faster to crack. So there are chapters like coordinate geometry, complex numbers, quadratic equations, progression and series. Just after your boards paper, you sit and start revising your 11th. Solve last 3 to 4 years paper to gain some confidence, and in that way you will be comfortable in the 11th syllabus and you are already comfortable in your 12th syllabus since you have recently covered your boards. These are 3 myths which we generally face during the paper of maths. Well, if I have just one myth for advanced paper, I suppose, and this is a very normal question which I come across, that the exam is very tough. Well guys, the exam need to be tough. Try to understand. Out of 13 lakh students who will be appearing for JEE 2018, JEE need to shortlist 10,000 students. So basically it's not a selection process, it's basically a termination process. Coming on to the myth, well, I won't totally agree with this myth. It's not tough. Well, it's different. If we keep aside 25% paper, then 75% paper is in the reach. All you need to do is you need to practice such type of variety, exam temperament and time management. Make a target. If you get some problem in the paper, make a target that out, see, paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1 generally consists of 18 to 20 questions per subject. The similar is the case with paper 2. So out of 18 and 20 questions, you need to make a target that yes, I will solve at least 10 questions in the given time frame. Analyze your strong chapters, work on those questions first. And imagine if you can solve 6 to 7 questions in first 30-35 minutes. It will give you immense confidence. And for my personal intake is try to attack single choice and integer type questions first. So as such, there is not so hi-fi strategy for JEE Advanced. Keep it simple, enjoy your studies and do it sincerely. Well guys, these are the myths for advanced and mains. Now this is a lot of queries coming into picture that the paper is going online and short answers. Well, let me tell you very clearly, there is as such no clear notification from the JEE admission board. I have the link with me. Is Mr. Bhaskar Ramamurthy, who is the chairman of Joint Admission Board. He has clearly written that in order to make logistics and evaluations easier, it was decided fine that the JEE Advanced should be made online. The reason is as simple as that. Results can now be declared faster. It will be logistically easier and we have adequate infrastructure available to conduct the exams online. So well, if you have an online paper, it's for all students. So there is nothing much to worry about it. Despite high speculations, no official notification. Yes, this is what I was talking about. There is no as such clear official notification from JEE admission board. Probably they'll be announcing sooner. So don't expect MCQs to be abolished. Initial there was a rumor that the MCQs will be there and you need to solve there and you need to write. Well, it's not easy. Writing chemical equations and maths equations along with the keyboard, it's not an easy cup of tea. Very tough to implement, and I don't personally feel that you need to write or jot down the solutions for the paper. And again, guys, first things first, you need to handle JEE Mains paper first. So you don't need to worry about the advance. Try to work nicely for your JEE Mains paper. Give it in a better way. Try to get as much marks as for JEE Mains. And till that time, you will be moving on to JEE Advanced paper. You will have 40 to 50 days in your pocket after JEE Mains. Well, fine. JEE format and other details, you all might be clear about it. I would like to go through for that. See, in a JEE Mains paper, if I personally talk about the maths paper, you have 30 questions and the total average time frame for your maths to handle is 60 minutes. So imagine 30 questions, 60 minutes. You generally get 2 minutes per question. And see, listen very carefully, paper is uniformly distributed. You have 25 chapters of mathematics for IIT JEE Advanced along with 3 additional chapters. One is of mathematical reasoning, other one is heights and distance, and one is of statistics. And these 3 chapters will definitely give you 3 questions for sure. that are as compared easier than the remaining 25 chapters of JEE. Well, we have tried to, got a little analysis about the complexity percentage distribution for JEE Mains. In any way, you will get 10 easy questions for sure. A medium questions whereby you just need to, try to change the formula, try to apply certain tricks. You'll be getting 15 questions. And yes, the 5 questions can be a tougher questions. In the category, they might can take your time. They might involve a lot of 2-3 concepts mixed along with it. So in this way, the paper is comprised of 30 questions. And I would like to tell you one major thing. See, it's a low scoring paper. It's not a paper whereby you need to score 96, 97% marks as you do in for boards. If you might be knowing, the cutoff for last year JEE Mains paper, can you imagine how much it is? Anyone can write it down correctly for me? I'm watching your chat. Anyone can tell me the cutoff for JEE Mains last year? Well, the JEE Mains cutoff was 81. Yes, good. Good, Sudhendra, Rabi, good. 81 out of 360. Can you imagine the percentage? I mean 22.5 percentage is the cutoff criteria. That means any student who has scored 30% in that JEE Mains paper is eligible for JEE Advanced. Anyone ever thought of getting 30% marks in any paper apart from JEE? Right, I come across around thousands of students and they say that, sir, I got 90% marks. I left 2-3% due to my calculation error. And imagine you are going to give a paper who just requires 30% criteria to solve. I mean 81 marks. If I divide it by 4 on an average, you hardly get 20 questions. So guys, imagine out of 90 questions, if you solve 20 questions, you are through with JEE Mains paper. So keep my words, make your preparation simple, revise all your concepts, all your formulas, try to maintain your speed, and most important, there should be no calculation error, because plus 4 marks is also linked with a negative mark, which is of -1. Okay, any questions, any query? Guys? Well, Karthik says 81 marks don't get us in a very good college. Agreed, Karthik. But if we talk of, just clearing the cutoff, I mean, getting 81 marks is not a very tough task. And I wish you should score at least 80% marks, 90% marks. And just in case, if I tell you, if in any way you get 81, at least you are qualified for JEE Advanced paper. And then you have 50 days in your pocket to work upon your weaknesses and to strong your fundamentals. Well, Adarsh says, can I join any NIT by just clearing? No. See, for getting a good NIT college, you need to score very good marks in your JEE Mains. 81 marks is the only criteria for opening a pocket to clear, to be eligible for JEE Advanced paper. For to get good college in NIT, you need to score at least 70% marks out of 360. Well, this is the criteria for JEE Mains, guys. Moving on to JEE Advanced. Number of maths questions, if I comprised of both the papers, paper 1, paper 2, there are generally 36 to 40. If you talk of 2017 paper, guys, there were paper 1, paper 2. The questions were 18 in paper 1, 18 in paper 2. And the total time allotted for both the papers on an average is 2 hours, because the paper 1 is of 3 hours, the paper 2 is of 3 hours. And if you have 3 segments in paper 1, physics, chemistry, maths, then the average time that gets calculated is 1 hour per subject in per paper. So can you imagine, guys, 120 questions if we talk of in totality. So generally you get 3 to 3.2 minutes per question. Well, coming on to the question complexity percentage. In any way, no matter how tough the paper is, you will get 10 to 15 questions in your hand, which will be considered as an easy questions to attack. While medium are around 14 to 18, and yes, 8 and 12 need to be tough. So this is the basically criteria for JEE Advanced. And the cutoff for JEE Advanced, anyone for 2017, guys? How much was the minimum marks criteria to enter into the gates of IIT JEE 2017? Anyone can pop up in the chat window? Yes, the marks were 2 to 128. Right, Manish? You're absolutely right. I'm talking of JEE Advanced. So if you consider the percentage, 128 marks out of 366, the percentage was 35%. Imagine you getting 45% marks in IIT JEE Advanced and clearing the gates of IIT JEE. Well, that is the pattern for IIT. Moving on to the next slide, guys. This is a generally, analysis done by our team. I'll consider it mainly for JEE Advanced. 40% questions are generally asked from calculus. We are comprised of 7 chapters in calculus, 3 for differential calculus and 4 for integral calculus. And the major portion covered in calculus are questions comprises of limits, continuity, differentiability and definite integration. That's all. Otherwise, in general, if I'll say, the paper is uniformly balanced. Weightage can be given to chapters like 3D, vectors, determinant and calculus. Moving on to the next slide, guys. Well, what can be the mantras? If I talk of key mantras, see, again I tell you, if we want to crack JEE Mains paper, NCERT book is the main criteria. You need to follow NCERT book. Keep all your basic concepts at your tips. All your formulas should be on your fingertips. Let's move on to the next point. All formulas should be on your fingertips. And yes, you can go in depth for the derivation of all those formulas, but that will be applicable for JEE Advanced paper. Because JEE Advanced cannot be direct formula based, especially in terms of mathematics. In JEE Mains paper, you can get 8 to 10 questions that can be straight away formula based. And try to frame zero calculation error strategy. Try to practice more questions in the given time frame. That will command your calculation and speed. If you solve 10 questions, make it a bottom line that yes, I'll be taking around 2.5 minutes per question. Keep a blank paper with you whereby you can jot down the answers. Keep another blank paper for you to go for rough work. Rough work is also a very important task. In your class, in your bedroom, in your school, you generally have ample of rough work. You try to, solve a question taking at least 2 to 3 sheets. But when you enter into the paper exam, you don't have so much rough sheets. So try to make it sure that you solve 10 questions, keeping a bottom line of 25 minutes, along with 2 papers. In one paper, you'll jot down the answers. In one paper, you'll make it sure that all the rough work for those 10 questions should be handled in a single sheet. These are basically the key mantras. How to put the best foot forward for a 90-day JEE Main preparation. So guys, basically in nutshell, we have 3 to 4 months left. My personal intake for this is you can formulate a sort of strategy. My personal experience says in a particular day, you try to maintain 2 subjects per day. Rather than, revising or studying one subject, it can be boring at times, or treating all the 3 subjects. So try to maintain a bottom line of 2 subjects per day. Try to gauge your weak subject, topic, chapter, and you can devote more time. And ultimately, for the last 2 to 3 months, I would like to suggest you try to practice some simulated tests in the replica environment. Right? Make sure you start practicing full tests now, comprising of the entire syllabus of physics, chemistry, maths from now onwards, and make it a habit that you try to solve one paper of mains and one paper of advanced in the same environment as you will be giving during the time of your paper. There should be no distractions. There should be no disturbances of any sort. These mock papers will really help you in checking yourself where you actually stand. So that's the most important thing. Okay, guys. Well, that's again a very important point which I would like to put to your focus. Train your brain biologically. Now, what does it mean? See, generally we have a habit of studying late night and then sleeping till 8 to 9 in the morning. Can you actually think how many of you actually study at the time where JEE happens, morning 9:30 to 12:30? So what I personally suggest is now slowly as the time moves on, slowly and slowly change the habit and try solving a paper at the time of the given slot of JEE, that is from 9:30 to 12:30. Guys, I'm telling you, it will definitely help you and it will increase your efficiency. It will be an invisible factor which you won't feel. But the moment when you will enter into the paper of IIT JEE Mains, you will feel that it's a normal paper which you used to give from last 3 to 4 months. So try to change your biological clock. Make it sure that after or we can say that 50-60 days prior to paper, you solve at least one paper, if not paper then at least questions in the time frame of 9:30 till 12:30. Right, guys? Moving on to the next part. Well, now I have certain questions for you. I've tried taken a middle level questions which would I'd like to put into your focus. See, I've taken one question from a coordinate geometry. If we talk in that terms, it's a very normal question for an JEE Mains paper and an easy question can be treated for a JEE Advanced paper. I repeat, if all the chords of the curve 3x square minus y square minus 2x plus 4y equals to 0. Well, Shah, I can see your chat box. You have written pole and polar. Sorry to interrupt you, but pole and polars are not in the course. So, well, before taking your queries, I'll move up to my question. I said if it's a very normal question which you have seen as well. If all the chords of the curve 3x square minus y square minus 2x plus 4y equal to 0, which subtend a right angle at the origin, pass through a fixed point, find the coordinates of that point. Now imagine, guys, a 2-degree curve and the chord of that 2-degree curve subtends a right angle at the origin. It's a very famous line. If ever you come across a 2-degree curve and a chord specifically not passing through origin that subtends a right angle at the origin, the concept, yes, very good, the concept of homogenization comes into picture. So you assume a chord as, see, Lx plus my equal to 1. And now you homogenize this chord with the curve. I hope you all must be aware of the concept of homogenization. Yes, Lx plus my equals to 1. Let us take the chord. And the question was 3x square minus y square minus y square minus 2x plus 4y equals to 0. So see, if we want to go for an homogenization concept, you know what is the meaning of an homogenized equation? The degree of all the terms should be same, right? So 3x square degree is 2, y square degree is 2, 2x plus 4y the degree is same. So we need to increase 1 degree. So what we can do is, as you all be aware of the concept of homogenization, we multiply it by 1 and we put it as Lx plus my upon 1 equals to 0. Now if we homogenize a 2-degree curve with a straight line, what we get? We get pair of straight lines passing through origin and the point of intersection of the curve and the line. And if it subtends a right angle at the origin, guys, that simply implies that the pair of straight lines are at an angle of 90 degree with each other. And if pair of straight lines are at an angle of 90 degree with each other, you all might be knowing that coefficient of x square plus coefficient of y square should be equal to 0. So if I check out the coefficient of x square is 3 minus 2l, well, 3 minus 2l plus minus 1 plus 4m equals to 0. By this you get a relation in L and M. Try to get the value of L as 1 plus 2m. and substitute this value in the assumed straight line. So we get 1 plus 2m times x plus my minus 1 equals to 0. Try to take the coefficient of m on one side. You get 2x plus y plus x minus 1 equals to 0. A very important concept of straight line comes into picture, that if a straight line can be written in the form of L1 plus lambda L2 equals to 0, it implies family of lines. And what is the specialty of that family of lines? Family of lines which always passes through a fixed point, and that fixed point is the point of intersection of L1 and L2. So we have the line as 2x plus y equals to 0 and x minus 1 equals to 0. By solving these two lines, you get that fixed point as 1 comma minus 2. So see, the question is very simple, but they have taken two concepts into picture. One is homogenization and another one is family of straight lines. Well guys, I hope it would have revised your coordinate geometry to a little bit. So guys, moving on to the next question. I think the second question which I have taken for you is of parabola, one of the most important chapter of parabola. There's a JEE question which came in the year, I suppose 2012 or 13, I'm not sure about it. Let me read the question for you. Let PQ be a focal chord of a parabola y square equals to 4ax. The tangents to the parabola at P and Q meet at a point lying on the line y equals to 2x plus a given a greater than 0. Find the length of chord PQ. Now, there's a basic standard parabola y square equals to 4ax. Try to draw a figure. Well, I have popped on to the third question. Let us draw a parabola. PQ is a focal chord. Tangents at the extremities of focal chord intersect the tangents to the parabola at P and Q meet at a point lying on the line y equals to 2x plus a. Now guys, there's one important property that comes into picture, is that tangents at the extremities of a focal chord always meet at right angle and the point of intersection lies on the directrix. So question is pretty simple now. X equals to minus a is the directrix and the line also meet at a point on the line y equals to 2x plus a. So if we solve these two lines, we get the point of intersection of that tangents, which is minus a comma a. Now from minus a comma a, if you check, that chord PQ is nothing but it's a chord of contact, and the equation of chord of contact is t equals to 0. You all must be aware of the concept of t equals to 0. If I start writing t equals to 0 for the parabola y square equals to 4ax, I get y1 2a times x plus x1 by 2, and 2 gets cancelled, so you get 2a. Just try to check the slope of this line. If this line makes an angle theta with the x-axis, then tan theta is the slope of the chord, and tan theta from this straight line is minus 2. Now if you can recall a very important formula, the length of focal chord in terms of theta, then the length of focal chord is 4a cosecant square theta, where theta is the angle made by the line with the x-axis. Now question remains very simple. You know the value of tan theta, you just need to substitute the value of cosecant theta, which is 4a into 1 plus cot square theta. And if tan theta is minus 2, cot square theta is 1 by 4. So you get 1 plus 1 by 4, and if you solve it, you get the answer in a matter of 2 minutes probably. And the length of the chord comes out to be 5a. So see, that's what I was trying to emphasize you. The question is pretty simple. The only thing which you need to take care is try to revise all the formulas. If anyone who might be knowing that the length of focal chord is 4a cosecant square theta, it's an easy cup of tea for that student, and the question will be solved in a matter of 1 minute or say maximum 2 minutes. Fine guys, then I move on to the third question, which can be treated in terms of calculus, which says that find the number of points in the interval minus infinity to infinity for which x square minus x sin x minus cos x equals to 0. Now by looking at the first glance, this question is a mixed question as it contains an algebraic terms and a trigonometric mix, right guys? So if I want to go for number of points, let us treat this function as fx. The question is pretty simple. There's nothing much into it. Let us treat fx as x square minus x sin x minus cos x. My point is, for this question I would try to draw a rough graph of this figure and at what points it will intersect the x-axis. That will be number of points where which this fx will be equal to 0, right? So if I differentiate it, I get f dash x equals to 2x minus sin x minus x cos x plus sin x. By this sin x gets cancelled and I get f dash x as x into 2 minus cos x. So you might be knowing that 2 minus cos x is always positive. So if I want to go for a critical point where the derivative is 0, we get f dash x equals to 0. So we get only one critical point. And if I go by the first derivative test, in the neighborhood of 0, f dash x changes sign from negative to positive. That means x equal to 0 is the point of minima. That means there is no other term in this function except at x equal to 0. Function is continuous. If I try to go for the value at infinity, the value approaches to infinity. And if I go for the value at minus infinity, the value again approaches to infinity as the governing term is x square, which is an even function. So if I try to draw a rough figure, the graph is coming from infinity, having a minima at 0. And the value at 0, if you try to substitute, it comes out to be minus 1. So it is negative. Then the graph takes a turn and then moves forward. So by this way, if you check, it cuts the x-axis at this point and it cuts the x-axis at that point. So that means the number of points where fx is equal to 0 are 2. Well, these are the sum of questions which I wanted to discuss along with you so that you can get a clear idea how the questions can be solved. Fine. So the D-Day. Well guys, I have nothing much to say. I have shared my thoughts, views with you. My only request is try to take a night's sleep just before that day. Try to get up early. Take your breakfast. Pray to God. Touch the feet of your mom and dad and bang the doors. My only thing is AIR 1 to AIR 10,000. All ranks are open. The box is open. No name is written yet. It is up to you which rank you can get, where you can put your name. Maybe AIR 1, maybe AIR 2, maybe AIR 100. So guys, all the best from my side. God bless you. Bang the gates of IIT. Well, if you have some certain question and answers I would like to take up at the end, I'm passing it to my colleague. He'll take care of the further way. Thank you guys.
Wow, those were some extremely detailed and insightful tips for JEE Maths. This has been one of our best webinars, and I'd like to thank Himanshu sir for sharing all these tips. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. So I saw that a lot of you had individual doubts, and I was reading the chat box as well. So sir would be answering most of them during the webinar at the end of it. I hope all of you have registered on the link that is given in the video description. In case you haven't, I would really request you to do that because you'll get solutions of every question that has been discussed in the webinar by Himanshu sir, as well as a recording of the webinar itself. So during the first, in case you missed the first part of the webinar, he discussed several power tips and tricks for the D-Day, and especially regarding maths and the important chapters, etc. You'll be able to just go through that during the recording, and to make sure that you've registered for it. The link is in the video description. I'll just give you a while to just register as well in case you haven't. So the session was brought to you by myPAT. So sir was talking about practicing in the real test environment and making sure that you're familiar with the recent changes. You can get updated questions and content prepared by Himanshu sir himself on our platform. So do check out the free tests that mypad.in has as well. And I'll just open the floor and pass the mic to Himanshu sir again to for the Q&A section.
Yeah, guys, I was checking your queries. The very common queries which I would like to take up is majority of students see as asking me which book to follow. Now, see, my personal suggestion is all books are same. Just try to follow one book seriously. You take any book you feel like, start solving from question number one and solve it till the end. No need to keep switching from one book to another book or to third book. Try to consult your faculty members, your seniors, your mentors. Have a discussion with them. Try to tell them your viewpoint, what type of questions, what type of category you require. See, because the time is less now, you have just 4 months in your pocket along with the 1 month for your boards. So make it very crisp and clear what you want to do. Follow any one book, any one book. I won't mention any name. There is no point in mention any name. The shops are flooded with books. Religiously follow one book. Try to make it a habit to solve each and every question of that book. That's all. So no more further discussions on which book you need to follow or whatever. Well, this is one query, and then revision tips. See, for revision tips, there has to be two criteria. First revision tip is whether you want to go for mains preparation and advanced preparation. My personal suggestion is first things first. You need to handle maths mains paper first rather than going for advanced paper. And for mains paper, preparation and revision is pretty simple. You have 28 chapters and 30 questions. So can you imagine? One chapter will hardly get one question. So my intake is write down all formulas of that chapter, make it a formula diary, jot down all important tricks, important tips, all formulas in that formula diary and keep it safe. 2 to 3 days prior to your paper, just sit, revise all the formulas, especially the formulas for trigonometry, especially some concepts of complex numbers, especially all type of categories in permutation combinations, all types of various types of integrations and indefinite integration, definite integration, so that the moment you enter into the paper, everything should be fresh. And my advice is you can also revise or memorize those formulas by writing. At writing those formulas, it helps. At times, if you are able to stuck in the formula at the time of paper, that picture, that photo will come into your eyes and you will be able to revise that formula once again at the same time of the paper. So write down all the formulas and revise them seriously. Coming for the advanced paper, there is no shortcut of that. You need to work harder. You need to practice every type of a question in the given time frame. Well, I'm getting a doubt that what do we do for chapters that are weak is as simple as that, my dear friend. If you have 3 chapters weak, you need to sit for those 3 chapters, follow the basics, start from scratch, read out the NCRT, try to solve some easy questions which will give you happiness, confidence, move on to the next level, and then try to consult with your senior members, with your faculties, with your subordinates that yes, now I feel I am comfortable with this chapter. Try to give me some 15-20 questions of that chapter and start practicing that chapter. Or even if you don't want to do that, is as simple as that. Try to get some online support and try to solve some online questions, or you have JEE last year papers for advanced as well as mains. Go through that paper, try to solve those questions in the given time frame, and that chapter will be fine. You should try to give JEE mains paper online as much as possible if you are going for an online mode. Well, guys, the next query which I was discussing with my colleague behind the mic was that lot of students are asking that whether I should go for an online paper or offline paper. Guys, my intake is ultimately your last paper will be online. It has to be online. It is clear. If you enter into the gates of IIT JEE Mains, when you will be giving your paper for advance, it has to be online, right? So my intake is it's better to go for an online paper. The best the advantage which I personally also feel is online paper will be 6 7 8 days after offline paper. So what advantage you can get is that before giving the actual paper, you can have a feel of the paper which will be going through offline. That is on 8th of April, I suppose. So at least you will have an idea what type of paper they have given. In a similar fashion, the paper has to be online. And you have 6 7 days to work upon those fundamentals. But before, if you want to go for online paper, it's a request. You should need to solve at least 30-20 papers before giving the actual online paper. And for that, you need to have an online support, online portal, online mock papers, whereby you can have the same environment, same feel as you will be having when you will be giving your online paper. Right, guys? I hope that suffices the enough queries. Wish you all the best for your paper. Thank you. Over to my colleague. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Himanshu, sir, for being here. I guess he's answered individual queries quite well as well. It's been a pleasure hosting him. He's been one of our mentors throughout our myPAT journey as well, and we hope to have him in future webinars. So as he was mentioning, I mean, it's important to practice online. You can do that on mypat.in. It's been great and it's been a pleasure having all of you. Despite the initial technical difficulties, I guess this has been one of our best webinars. And do stay tuned and subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube handles for further webinars. We're going to have a lot more webinars on maths, physics, chemistries, preparation tips. We're going to have some for specifically for BITSAT, for JEE Mains Advanced, and a lot more is coming very soon. So do subscribe to our YouTube handle for all these in the very near future. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being so patient. And I look forward to seeing all of you in our next webinar.